Hey guys, back at it again with another video. Today's video is sponsored by lids.com. Use code Santos at checkout to get 20% off. Lids is a store that lets you buy hats from different brands, different franchises. And I know during quarantine, a lot of people are going to be having a lot of quarantine cuts they may be wanting to hide. And Lids does that perfectly by wearing a hat, and you don't have to worry about it. Today's video, we're going to be talking about the NFL offseason, some big trades, some big free agency signings, and a little bit about the draft at the end. The biggest trade, I believe, during this offseason has to be DeAndre Hopkins to the Cardinals. The Houston Texans traded DeAndre Hopkins and a fourth-round pick for David Johnson, a second-round pick, and a fourth-round pick. This doesn't make sense to me, as DeAndre Hopkins is a top wide receiver in the league in a tier all by himself with Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, and Antonio Brown. They traded this for an expiring running back in David Johnson that's been injury-prone in the past couple years. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think they might be thinking that Deshaun Watson's good enough that he can elevate wide receivers of a lesser caliber and that they're just missing a running game to put their team over the top. And I don't even know if David Johnson's the one to do it for him. I just don't know what they're thinking. They also traded for Brandon Cooks. They traded a second-round pick for Brandon Cooks and a fourth-round pick from the Rams. They also signed Randall Cobb in the offseason, I guess trying to fill the void that DeAndre Hopkins has left. Another big trade that happened was Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs was traded to the Bills for a first, a fifth, a sixth, and a fourth-round pick. The Vikings also sent a seventh-round pick with Stephon. This is a great trade for both teams. I think the Bills needed another wide receiver, a true 1A wide receiver, an alpha dog that can put Josh Allen, I think who's a rising star, over the top and allow them to pursue their dreams of chasing a championship. I do think they're playoff contenders. And I think they're playoff bound. For the Vikings, they lose Stephon Diggs, which is a pretty big loss as he is a top wide receiver in the league. However, I don't think they really needed him. They already had Adam Thielen, and if what I know is correct, they had a kind of a rift in the locker room as Stephon wasn't happy with the amount of balls being thrown in his direction, and I think it's good for both sides. Other notable trades were the Jags. They traded Calais Campbell to the Ravens for a fifth-round pick. For the Jaguars, I can see where it's coming from. Calais Campbell is an expiring player. He's getting old. He wants a contract extension, and the Jags aren't in a position to win right now. Signing him to another contract extension would keep a good player on the team, but you're just wasting money as you're not winning a championship. They traded him to the Ravens, where I think he'll be happy. The Ravens are already Super Bowl contenders. Having Calais on the team, the D-line is already stacked. The defense is looking mighty good, and the offense is already in a position to take any team down with MVP Lamar Jackson. The thing that the Jaguars got back in return, however, the fifth-round pick, I believe they could have got a little bit more. It's kind of cheap. They kind of traded him for a bag of chips, in my opinion. They could have got a little bit better than that. Calais Campbell is one of the top deep rushers in the league, the lineman, and I expected more. Other free agent signings that are notable, Phillip Rivers goes to the Colts. The Saints signed Emmanuel Sanders, I think is a good wide receiver to help them, and they also signed Malcolm Jenkins to help with their safety in the secondary. The Falcons signed Todd Gurley. He hasn't put up the numbers we've been expecting. However, he has been a previous MVP, and I do think he will have a breakout season once again. The Cowboys signed HaHa Clinton-Dix to help shore up the secondary now that they lost Byron Jones to the Dolphins. The Chargers signed Chris Harris. It's a big loss for the Broncos as their secondary is not as strong anymore, but the Chargers now have him paired up with Derwin James. That secondary is looking kind of nice. The Broncos signed themselves Melvin Gordon, who's going to team up with Phillip Lindsay in the backfield. That's a nice little duo right there. They also signed Jarrell Casey, D lineman that I think could help Bradley Chubb and Von Miller get to the quarterback. The Steelers signed Eric Ebron, adding another offensive weapon to an offense that kind of lost a lot of its oomph with the leaving of Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. That's about it in terms of free agency and trades that I thought were notable. Another one that I found were the Panthers. They released Cam Newton officially, and they officially signed Teddy Bridgewater. I think Cam can go to any team and pretty much put them in a better position than they were previously. I'd like to see him, honestly, with the Patriots. I think it'd be a cool matchup with him and Bill Belichick. And I kind of want to see Cam Newton win one for once. As for the draft, I think this year's draft is completely stacked with a whole bunch of different talent, especially at the quarterback position, the wide receiver position. For quarterbacks, you have Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa. I think he's the biggest question mark of the draft. I think he's probably the best QB, maybe behind Joe Burrow, but it's arguable. The only problem is his health, dislocated hip during the season. Other than that, I think he's a surefire pick, and I know a lot of teams are going to pass up on him because of his health. So whatever team gets him, I know it's going to be low, but they're going to be getting a steal. Other notable positions, the wide receiver position stacked, Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins, plethora of other wide receivers coming out in this draft. In addition, on defense, you have Isaiah Simmons, who is an absolute stud. You have Derrick Brown on the line. There's just a whole bunch of different people coming out in this draft that can give a team the much-needed boost. Grant Delpit at safety. I believe he's coming out. It's just the draft is stacked, so this upcoming NFL season is going to be looking quite nice, and it's going to be a big change of pace now that a lot of people are moving, and there's a lot of moving parts. Thank you for coming to this video, and I hope you enjoyed. Stay safe.